This week on Color Theory from the Inside Out, we're going to talk about opacity. My name is Anne. This is a channel for people hoping to deepen their art practice or even go professional. And I'm here today to talk to you about gouache. So what is gouache? I think that a lot of people associate gouache with watercolor because they are indeed water media. They're basically a pigment that has been mixed with a binder, which is usually gum arabic. They can be re-wet after they have dried. But gouache is a little different. Not only is it more opaque, hence the opacity discussion, but it has a very matte surface. The pigment particles that are used to make gouache are larger than very fine particles for watercolor. And usually there's another substance like calcium carbonate, otherwise known as chalk, that goes into gouache to make it more opaque. In fact, the word gouache, which is French, came from the Italian word guazzo, which means mud. A very different vibe than watercolor. So what do you get with gouache? You get a smooth and even coverage. You have the ability to paint light over dark, whereas with watercolor you have to reserve your whites or use a masking agent. And because it is a substance that can be re-wet, the way watercolor can be re-wet, you can even come back in and layer in some color, like blend some color in when you add something to a dry layer, which is really interesting. So you'll often see that designers and illustrators use gouache quite a bit, but also artists are really, it seems like a lot more artists are using it as well. There's something very exciting about the fact that you are working with these opaque colors and you're basically making your painting with something that feels like building blocks. Your challenge this week, if you so choose to take me up on it, is to go get some gouache. If you don't have gouache in your house, I am suggesting that you go get some. And gouache can be expensive depending on the brand. And so you have a lot of options though. There's a real range, but of course you get what you pay for. The most popular professional gouache that you'll find is Winsor Newton Designer's Gouache. Comes in a tube. And I do recommend that if you go buy some, buy the kind that's either in a tube or in a jar, so that it's kind of liquid and not something that you have to re-wet. That way you can fully experience the opacity that gouache can offer you. I have found a really cool artist who has an extensive and honest and detailed review of a whole bunch of different gouache brands. And there's one that's for professional grade and there's one for student grade. She's so meticulous. It took her weeks to make these videos, and she's just, she helped me really understand if I buy more gouache, which one I think I might buy. As you can see, Sarah Burns focuses on art and nature, and she does primarily plein air painting, and she knows her gouache. So if you discover that gouache is something you want to explore more, I would really recommend this channel. I'm going to put the link to her 2 videos below so that if you wanted to watch that would be useful. But if you don't have time to think or watch videos about it and you just want to get down to experimenting with gouache in your studio color notebook, then I recommend the Winsor Newton. It's a standard, awesome, good quality gouache. So your challenge this week is to, in your studio color notebook, take your gouache and just mess around with it. Find out what it's like. What happens when you paint with it straight out of the tube? What happens when you mix it with a little bit of water? What happens when you let one layer dry and then you put another layer on top of it? So I have a set of this Winsor Newton gouache that has 10 colors, and that's not necessary. In fact, if you just wanted to get your favorite color, or if you wanted to get a red, a blue, a yellow, and white, that would be fine too. And so, or just 2 colors, because this is purely for experimental purposes and to get a sense of opacity. If you paint with watercolor already, it will be very interesting to mess around with them side by side. I mean, what happens if you paint with watercolor and gouache? Like, I honestly don't know. I've never tried it. If you have a pretty heavy-duty acrylic practice, then what if you did an acrylic study with the same colors that you have in your gouache colors, and do those side by side on the same page. The idea is just to get a sense of what gouache is like. I was thinking, yeah, I was going to demonstrate it for you, and actually I have shot quite a bit of video of myself painting gouache paintings, like 5 paintings since you last saw me. I have 4 brands of gouache in my house now, and so I did 4 paintings of the same teacup, using the 4 different gouaches, and so that was really interesting. It will work on regular paper. It might buckle a little bit, just like it would with any other paint. If you want to like be luxurious, you can also, I painted on Strathmore mixed media paper because it's 184-pound paper, nice and heavy, and it's got a vellum surface, so it's really smooth, which I would recommend doing with gouache, and you'll see why. But if you don't want to get the fancy paper, that's okay. Just do it on printer paper. Do it on whatever paper you have on hand, and you'll get it. You'll get the sense of it. I do want to say that I also bought this acrylic paper because I was super curious to see how that works, because it has a linen finish, and I painted the teacups on the linen finish. I don't know if I would recommend that with gouache. It's sort of like they're fighting each other a little bit. I can see how that'd be great for acrylic, but not necessarily for gouache. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know if you can tell, but after you have done some just color studies with your gouache, I would like to then suggest that you paint a picture using this opaque stuff. Think of it as you are constructing a picture with these opaque surfaces, and just build something, anything. It could be something that you are looking at on your phone or a still life. And it doesn't have to be like good, but just have a sense of what happens if you paint an entire painting and everything is opaque. And if you want to send any of this to me, you want me to write you back, I totally will, at colortheory@annelivingston.com. And if you want to share it just with me, let me know. Or if you're okay with me sharing it with everybody else, then you go ahead and let me know about that too. I would love to see what your experiments are. Part 2 of this challenge, if you are interested in trying it, is try just painting an object and have that object be with a definite light source coming from one direction, like whether it's from behind or from the side, and then try painting with this opaque stuff using lighter and darker colors to show where the light is coming from. So my example is these teacups. The light was coming from above and behind, and so I was trying to show like how the plate was reflecting the blackness of the cup there, and then like there's where the light was hitting, and then like there's part of the tea, and like that's the rose paint, like the rose decoration on the inside of the cup, and then so it's lighter and darker there. Just try. Okay, this is a little bit too complicated, I guess you could say. Like you could do, a painting of a ball if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be complicated. But of course, my brain is complicated, and I wanted to do something complicated. And then I did this bell tower sketch, and I feel like I didn't really get as much of the light, the sense of the light as I hoped. So, but it was still fun. Like seriously, just I hope that whatever you do, it's fun. And then if you would like to send it to me and share with me what you did, I would love to see it. We're going to talk more next week about what we have learned about opacity by doing this. So thank you for participating, and thank you for your time and attention, which are so valuable during these busy times. So I hope you have a very colorful week, and we'll see you soon.